Welcome to the deep dive. So today we're tackling something that's been causing a lot of anxiety for, what, almost 2 years now?
That's right. Ever since ChatGPT burst onto the scene back in late 2022.
Exactly. We're talking about this idea, this prediction of an AI-driven employment apocalypse.
Yeah.
The headlines, the panic. It's been pretty intense. Global, really.
Fueled by some pretty big names in the industry, too, adding to the media storm.
Right. So our mission today, using the sources you sent and the warnings, the layoff news, the economic charts, is to try and separate the hype from what's actually happening.
We get past the noise.
Yeah. And look, let's just cut straight to the big finding here, the counter-narrative. The data we have right now, it suggests this robot army coming for all our jobs. Well, it's been dramatically oversold.
Hugely. It seems AI, for now at least, should probably be seen more like, I don't know, a calculator. A powerful tool, yes, but one that amplifies us rather than just replacing us.
A tool, not a replacement army. But, that's not what we've been hearing. Every tech layoff, every restructure.
Instantly blamed on AI in the headlines. It's an easy narrative, makes for good clicks.
But it created this sense that we're in this incredibly fast job-killing shift, unlike anything before.
Right, which is why we need to move past the vibes and the panic, like you said, and actually look at the numbers. What does the data say?
Okay, so let's do that. Let's dig into the data that challenges this whole consensus. Where's the best place to start?
Well, there's a really significant study from Yale University. It's pretty groundbreaking, actually.
Yale. Okay, what did they do?
They looked at 33 months of really detailed U.S. labor market data, starting right when ChatGPT launched. The whole idea was methodical. Find the jobs supposedly most exposed to AI and see if employment in those areas actually went down.
Right, isolating the impact.
Yeah.
How did they figure out which jobs were most exposed? That seems tricky.
It is tricky. They didn't just use broad job titles. They focused on specific tasks that we know large language models, LLMs, are getting good at.
Like what kind of tasks?
Things like writing basic code, summarizing really complex documents, maybe drafting legal notes, generating marketing copy, stuff like that.
The sort of work that often falls to more junior people.
Often, yes. So they identified roles heavy with those kinds of tasks and then basically sorted them. High AI exposure, medium exposure, low exposure. Then they just tracked the employment numbers for each group over those 33 months.
Okay, so they're looking for a real dip in jobs like, say, entry-level programmers, paralegals, maybe content writers.
Yeah.
The ones doing the exact things AI is supposedly automating. So what did they find? Was there a big drop?
This is the kicker. They found no significant decline. Not in those high exposure jobs.
Wait, really? No significant drop?
Statistically speaking, no. The massive job displacement that everyone was predicting, it just hasn't shown up in the data for this initial period. The numbers point towards stability, surprisingly.
Stability, that flies completely in the face of the panic narrative, doesn't it? Yeah. But, okay, hang on, 33 months. That's not that long in the grand scheme of things, right?
Well, it's not decades, no.
Could the Yale study just be too early? Are the doomsayers maybe right that the real crunch is still coming once companies really figure out how to use this stuff?
That's a perfectly valid question, and that's exactly why looking at history is so important here. When the Yale researchers compared this current AI moment to other huge tech shifts in the past.
Like the PC revolution or the internet.
Exactly.
Right.
What they found is that the pattern we're seeing now, it isn't some crazy acceleration. It actually looks pretty familiar. It follows historical precedent.
Okay, unpack that a bit. The 1980s, PCs arrive. Big changes, sure, but...
But it took decades, right? It was gradual. Work changed fundamentally, yes, but it wasn't like millions lost their jobs overnight. It was an evolution.
And the 90s internet boom. I remember people worrying email would kill off all the admin jobs.
Right. That was the fear. And did it happen? No. Instead, the internet created whole new industries, new types of jobs we couldn't even imagine back then.
So the historical pattern is always slower. More like decades-long transformation, not a few frantic months of collapse.
That's what the data suggests. Disruption happens, absolutely. New skills become necessary. But these major shifts tend to unfold over a much longer timeline than the recent panic implies.
Okay, so if the Yale data shows stability and history suggests change is slow, then we have a mystery. All those big tech layoffs in 2023, the ones plastered everywhere. If it wasn't the AI robots, what was driving those cuts?
And here comes the plot twist, I guess. The main culprit, at least for those specific highly publicized layoffs, probably wasn't some futuristic AI. It was Well, it was the good old Federal Reserve.
Fed. Interest rates.
Seriously.
Think about the financial environment before 2022. For about a decade, we had interest rates near zero. Money was incredibly cheap to borrow.
Right, free money era for tech.
Exactly. So tech companies, especially startups, were running on a growth at all costs model. They hired like crazy, maybe even overhired, focused purely on getting bigger, grabbing market share, profitability. That could wait. They could always raise more cheap cash.
Okay, I see where this is going. Then, in 2022, the Fed slammed on the brakes to fight inflation. Interest rates shot up. That river of cheap capital just dried up overnight.
And suddenly, investors weren't interested in growth anymore. They wanted profits now.
Precisely. The metric shifted from user numbers to actual black ink on the balance sheet. And in that new high-interest world, every single employee, every project suddenly looked a lot more expensive.
So those layoffs weren't necessarily AIs taking our jobs. They were more like, whoa, money isn't free anymore. We need to actually make a profit. Let's cut costs. A financial correction.
That seems to be the much bigger driver, yes. It was companies having to right-size after a period of, frankly, unsustainable expansion fueled by cheap money. Blaming AI, much sexier headline, gets more clicks. The underlying reality was more about economic policy and market adjustment.
That's a really crucial piece of context. Changes the whole picture. Okay, but let's circle back to Yale for a second. You mentioned a nuance, something about younger workers.
Ah, yes. The youth question, as you put it. While the overall picture was stable, the study did find some evidence, a slight hint, of a dip in those AI-exposed jobs, specifically for the 20 to 24-year-old group.
Oh, okay, so the very early career folks. Why might they be feeling a bit of a pinch, even if others aren't?
Well, think about the kind of work involved. More experienced workers often handle complex, nuanced tasks, negotiating deals, managing teams, long-term strategy, things AI still really struggles with.
Right, the squishier stuff.
Exactly. Whereas entry-level roles often involve more, let's say, codifiable tasks. Doing initial research, drafting first versions of things, summarizing information, data entry.
The very things you said LLMs are getting good at.
Precisely. So you could imagine a company thinking, okay, we need to tighten our belts. Maybe this new AI tool can handle, say, 60% of what we used to give a brand new hire. So maybe they hire fewer entry-level people.
That makes intuitive sense. But is it definitely AI or could it just be?
That's the caution. It could also just be the overall job market cooling down a bit. Entry-level jobs are always the first to feel it when the economy slows, AI or no AI. So the verdict isn't in yet. It's just something to watch closely for that specific age group. We need more data over time.
Okay, so need to monitor that group. But still, this overall stability picture clashes pretty hard with what some CEOs are saying, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely. You've got the data showing one thing, and then you have these very loud predictions, like the Anthropic CEO saying, what was it? Up to 50% of entry-level jobs could vanish in just 1 to 5 years.
Yeah, or the Salesforce CEO claiming they're already seeing AI cutting customer support jobs. There's a real disconnect there.
A striking disconnect
Deeply.
between the broad labor market data and these quite aggressive forecasts from the top.
Makes you wonder about the incentives, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Are they genuinely seeing something the data isn't picking up yet? Or is there maybe a benefit to talking up AI's disruptive power?
Could be a mix of things, right? Maybe it justifies efficiency drives internally. Maybe it boosts the company's image as cutting edge, helps the stock price. Maybe it encourages employees to hurry up and adopt the new tools. It's hard to say for sure.
Yeah, multiple possibilities there. But if we step back from the predictions and look at what companies are actually doing, what's the reality of AI adoption right now?
Well, the unsexy truth seems to be that it's still really uneven and, frankly, quite experimental across most industries.
Meaning, lots of companies bought the fancy AI subscription, but they're still mostly using it for, like, writing slightly better marketing emails.
Pretty much. Or summarizing meeting notes. You know, they've got the supercomputer, but they're using it for basic tasks. Most are still very much in the let's figure this out phase. How do we actually integrate this deeply? What are the best practices?
It takes time to figure that stuff out.
A lot of time and money. Think about rolling out PCs in the 80s or getting businesses properly online in the 90s. It wasn't instant. Adoption will likely be slow, deliberate, maybe even painful sometimes as companies learn what works. The big transformative changes, those will probably play out over years, maybe even decades, not a few months.
Okay, so if mass panic isn't the right response and the change is likely to be gradual, the focus really shifts to preparation, doesn't it? How should people, listening right now, think about navigating this? What's the action plan?
Absolutely. It's about preparation, not panic. And there are a few key things. First, try to embrace the potential. See AI as a partner, not an enemy. How can these tools help you do your current job better, faster, maybe move you towards higher value tasks?
Using it to augment your skills, not feeling threatened by it.
Exactly. Second, and this is huge, continuous learning. We can't just rely on what we learned in school.
Lifelong learning isn't just a buzzword anymore.
It really isn't. We need to be proactive. Invest in reskilling, support training programs. The skills needed in, say, 2 or 5 years might be subtly different. Getting ahead of that curve is key.
Makes sense. And the third thing,
Stay informed. Keep following the actual research, like that Yale study. Real data is always better than speculation and fear-mongering. Science takes patience. It doesn't thrive on panic.
right, data over drama. Okay, so wrapping this up, the big takeaway today seems clear. The best current research we have, particularly from Yale, really pushes back against that AI job apocalypse story.
It does. The labor market's showing surprising stability, adaptability even, and those big layoff waves we saw. Looks like they were much more about Fed policy, interest rates, and economic adjustments than about robots taking over.
So AI right now is more like an experimental tool, unevenly adopted, still finding its place. The immediate threat isn't some robot army at your desk.
Doesn't look like it, based on the current evidence.
Okay, so here's a final thought to leave you with. If the data shows AI adoption is still patchy and experimental, and the real immediate risk isn't mass unemployment, but maybe uneven or slow adoption by companies, what are the dangers for businesses that don't manage to get beyond just using AI for marketing emails? What happens to the companies that treat this powerful new thing as just another non-critical bit of tech? That feels like the more interesting competitive question for the next 5 years, something worth mulling over.
That's a great point. The risk might be falling behind, not being replaced.
Exactly. Thanks for diving deep with us today.